Within a week of the procedure, she became seriously ill and died from a massive infection. Additionally, Belle's mother submitted an essay to NARAL, which I think stands for National, thank you, for use in the 1998 book, Choices Women Speak Out About Abortion. The following is an excerpt from her piece. Bill and I decided to speak out. We thought we could prevent other girls from dying. We appeared on 60 Minutes. The anti-choice crowd came after us. They followed us. There would be crowds of people with their fetuses in a bottle, and some would say that Becky didn't die the way she said she did. They loosened the lug nuts on our car. In Arkansas, they shot a hole in the building where we were speaking. They cared more about a fetus than about my daughter. I thought, I'm not afraid of anybody because my daughter is dead, and you can't hurt me anymore. People asked me what I would have done if Becky had told me the truth. I would have been mad, and I would have said, Becky, you just ruined your life. What are the neighbors going to think? That would have been my first reaction because that's who I am. But then I would have asked her, Beck, do you want to get married, have a baby, have an abortion? What do you want? What can you live with, hon? We would have worked it out, but I never got the chance. And I think that's really important because I hope what people get the most out of this evening is when we get away from the hyperbole and the emotions and the hostility, there can be that sharing of stories where there's more chance of finding solutions that will benefit everybody. Because the story you told about the teenager and the $100,000 for hysterectomy is really powerful, and the teenage girl that died, they're both very powerful stories. And I really don't have the solution right now.
It is an emotional issue. And when it comes down to it, again, we answer the question of what is the unborn, and as we answer that question, it helps us to more easily address the issue. Yeah, there's a lot of conversation to take place. But,
we're running a little bit out of time. Most of these other questions on here have already been answered by you two in other ways. So I'm going to ask one more question that's directed to both of you, and if we have a little more time, I'll ask a couple more. But,
Can we shut the doors? Am I the
Yes, we can.
Okay, good.
I told somebody.
Oh, okay. I was thinking the girl with the shorts, if that might be.
she's fine. All right, this last question, it's the same question for both of you. What is your view on the recent bill that, at this time, is an if passed, that would require women to have a transvaginal ultrasound prior to them attaining an abortion? Are you in favor of the bill? Why or why not? And,
that's not what the bill says, actually.
okay, this was
I
from
think
somebody.
the question I think was submitted before the change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was
okay.
submitted.
The bill was amended. Okay.
Okay, well, what was the amendment to the bill?
The amendment was that they cannot do a transvaginal ultrasound without the woman's consent.
Without the woman's consent. Okay. Well, at this time, they were, I guess, contemplating whether they.
However, they are routinely done at Planned Parenthood now because
Okay.
it's the only way they can see the baby early in the pregnancy clearly.
Okay.
So they're routine. So now the doctors will have to ask the woman.
Even if they're considering an abortion, they still have to ask.
Yes. Even,
Okay.
yeah.
And I think they added a 24-hour waiting period, too.
Yes, there is a 24-hour waiting period, so they have time to process what they learned.
Okay. Well, in that case, we don't have to ask this question, unless you all would like to.
If you want to.
The question was, do you think that a woman considering an abortion should be required to have a transvaginal ultrasound? Why or why not?
Well, it was about the bill, though, right?
Yeah. Do you think that?
Yeah, I'd be fine with answering
Okay, sure.
that. I'm very concerned about the bill. First of all, in regards to it being standard care about the transvaginal ultrasound, that's where it's really important to honor the relationship between the healthcare provider and the patient, because things could be standard of care when it could be potentially harmful to that individual patient for a particular reason. And some of it could be psychological. I know of a woman who really hated needles and did not want to have an IV set up when she gave birth, and that was the standard of care. And I convinced her to talk to her healthcare providers, and they worked it out. So you have to look at why the procedure is usually there, what it's used for. And a lot of times it's there for very good reasons. But you know, I guess it's the independent nature of me, and with my background, with my ancestry. I don't like the government telling me as an individual what I have to do, what I can't do. And if there's not a medical health reason to wait 24 hours and it provides additional cost and suffering for a woman that makes it harder, I really don't feel comfortable with our government doing that. I hope the governor vetoes the legislation. I'm really concerned about the current legislation really hurting women of lower income too. I really don't think it's fair, and I really don't like that unfairness.
There's a recent article that just posted in the it was posted yesterday, I believe. Yes, call crying rape, pro-choice advocates should quit calling ultrasound rape. And this is done from the perspective of, it was not authored by, but it was taken on the perspective of those that are in the abortion providing business, in which with some of the, again, most people don't understand where a lot of the pro-choice people stand, and most people don't understand where a lot of the pro-life people stand. So it is good that we have exchanges like this to help us understand. Because for those people who don't understand the fact that these transvaginal ultrasounds are routinely done in even abortion clinics to help to locate the child, unfortunately for extermination, it is now considered, they have now conditioned women to assume that this procedure is now a negative event, and there are even abortion doctors that are discouraging the pro-choice movement from labeling this procedure as an attack on their physical body and equating it to a rape, because this procedure has been helped in this. I have difficulty saying this as someone who represents the unborn child, but it helps the doctor to locate this unborn child. What this bill would allow for the woman is for her to see that unborn child. And if we are truly pro-choice and not pro-abortion, we would encourage a woman to have as much information as she can possibly have in order to make the best choice possible. This bill does not limit a woman's access to an abortion. Again, my wife had 2 surgeries within 8 weeks several years ago, and she was required to go through several uncomfortable tests to help the doctors best diagnose the problem so that they could best treat her medically. And so again, this procedure is done in abortion clinics, including Planned Parenthood, around our country. But now, because of the negative stigma that's been placed upon it, now even abortion doctors are fearful that women will not choose this option and then it will increase, it will put more at risk the woman's health during the abortion procedure. So I am all for the woman having as much information. And really, if we're really for choice, what information are you afraid that a woman can't handle when making this decision? Once the decision's made, she can't undo it. So this is just providing her additional information. A 24-hour waiting period. My wife had a gallbladder going bad, and they required her to wait a certain period of time before just rushing her because her life wasn't in danger at that moment. But she did have to wait for a certain period of time for even the doctor to be available to perform the surgery. Because and obviously I'm sure that a doctor would be aware if this was an extreme circumstance. Again, those hard cases, all total combined, only comprise about 4% of all abortions. So taking that into consideration, a 24-hour waiting period is not unreasonable for a woman to be able to successfully digest the information that she has been given and allow her to make an unpressured choice. And so I am for this bill to pass, and I'm for this even for the sake of, and I know that there are women who will go through this and continue on with their abortion decision, and they were given the information that they were needed to have to make that decision. Again, I'm against abortion 100%, but at this point, at least I feel that a woman is going into her decision a little bit more educated.
It's safer, you said, right?
I'm sorry?
It's safer.
Yes.
Okay. Because they can see where
Yes, because in a typical pregnancy, as you well know, a baby doesn't implant on the wall of the uterus in the same place in every woman. And you know, my mother had 12 children, and I don't think any of us were positioned the same way.
Well, really, it's like going in more blind then. So why would you?
Well, they use it to determine gestational age.
I want to be respectful to our format, so I'll turn that control over to you.
It's okay.
Sorry, gestational age.
Add some additional
Yeah,
information.
you can respond, but then we'll have some time for closing arguments. It's supposed to end at 9. I'm not sure. Do we have more time?
Okay, with us. You ready to go?
Okay, I mean, I don't want everyone to, if they have plans to go somewhere. It was planned to end at 9, but, yes, have a comment.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was, when I was talking about this being a bill that could hurt women of low income, you know, I'm thinking of the women who live down the boot of Southwest Virginia, where there's a lot of depression. They have to travel usually up here to our Planned Parenthood in Roanoke for a procedure. So asking them to pay for the gas and then have a hotel bill, I'm worried about them choosing to stay at home and have illegal abortions. So that's just what I worry about. The other thing, as far as I'm being a childbirth educator, I offer everybody getting as much information, and I have 4 sons, and they know more about childbirth than most people do. Getting as much information as they can, but as far as like saying that having them look at an ultrasound before they give an abortion is going to give them more information, they can look at pictures and videos of any embryo or fetus at that age to see what that looks like, and be encouraged to do so, but forcing somebody to do so, that's where, for me, when it comes down to rape, it's not about sex. I mean, you know, you can describe sex in a loving, caring way that, you know, out of love you bring forth in life. Rape isn't about that. Rape is about control and power over. And so when people use that language to talk about this type of legislation, they are using some pretty descriptive language to describe their frustrations of the government taking power over their choices and forcing decisions on them that they don't want for themselves.